You're listening to the School Leadership Reimagined podcast, episode 63.
Welcome to the School Leadership Reimagined podcast, where we rethink what's possible to transform your school. If you're tired of settling for small wins and incremental improvement, then stay tuned to discover powerful and practical strategies for getting every teacher in your school moving towards excellence. Now, here's your host, Robyn Jackson.
Hey builders, welcome to another episode of the School Leadership Reimagined podcast. I'm your host, Robyn Jackson, and today we are going to talk about another mind stepsism. This week we're going to talk about anchor in the outcome. Now, I had this episode planned several weeks back, but it's amazing how God works because this is the exact episode that I really feel I need to be doing at this time. If you're listening to this sometime in the future, this time is March, the end of March, 2020, and the nation is reeling amidst an outbreak of COVID-19 or the coronavirus, and schools are reeling. Everybody's trying to figure out what to do. Just a few days ago, the president announced that all state testing would be suspended for the year. And a lot of schools who have anchored in their state test, who have let state tests kind of drive the work of their schools, they are now lost. If we don't have state test, then what was it all for? And so they're starting to figure out, well, if we're not going to have state tests, we need to still teach for the rest of the year. Does this mean that school's going to be closed for the rest of the year? And every single day there is a new development. It's hard to make plans because those plans can be upended in a moment by an announcement from the president or your government or your local superintendent or your governor. So people are scrambling. And so this is the exact perfect time for this mind stepsism, anchor in the outcome, because I don't know anything else that's going to help you deal with the uncertainty that we're facing other than that. We have to anchor in the outcome. So I want to talk about how you can anchor your school right now when the seas are rough, when everything, all of your plans that you set for the year are just garbage at this point. How do you keep everybody anchored? How do you keep everybody focused? How do you make sure that your students stay calm? How do you make sure that your students' needs are being met, even though you're unable to do that face to face? How do you make sure that your staff is still focused on the right work? How do you make sure that your staff members are growing and continuing to grow? And how do you make sure that your school doesn't just survive all of this, but that your students and your staff and your families that you serve actually thrive both now? And then how do you set your school up to be able to thrive whenever people return? We're going to talk about that today. But before I do that, I really need to invite you to Builders Lab because a lot of the principles I'm talking about today are the exact same things we do in Builders Lab. I just spent the last week kind of checking in with some of our Builders Lab alumni, some of our private clients, just checking in to see how they're doing. And everybody's reeling, but the ones who actually sat down at Builders Lab, created that Builders Blueprint, put the core values, the vision, and the mission in place, those schools are thriving even now. I just got a couple of notes, emails from some folks the other day, and they're saying, thank God we had these things in place. Thank God we had them in place because now that everything is going crazy, we can go back to that. We have an anchor. And those schools are not suffering in the same way. Those schools are not scrambling in the same way. They're doing well. And the reason they're doing well is because those builders of those schools put some things in place ahead of time that are helping them weather the storm. And that's what we show you how to do at Builders Lab. Now, a lot of people have been calling and saying, are you still doing it this summer? Absolutely. Unless something dramatically changes. And with the way things are going, that's always a possibility. But when we checked in with everybody, when we looked at kind of the trajectory of where things are going, our Builders Labs aren't until the end of June and the end of July. So it looks like we are still going to be able to have them. And you need Builders Lab now more than ever because given everything that we're going through right now, getting away for 3 days and spending some time in a small supportive group of people, helping you plan for how you're going to set your school up for success this year, in spite of everything that happens, it's invaluable. So even though a lot of people are saying we shouldn't be pitching right now, I'm still inviting you to Builders Lab because I believe that it is the one thing that you can count on to help you weather the storm. We are also developing contingency plans for Builders Lab as well. So if for some reason we have to close Builders Lab live, we have some other things in place to make sure that you still benefit from it. So I'm inviting you to join us at Builders Lab, and I'm doing it now because the people who came to Builders Lab and who are actually putting what they learned at Builders Lab into place in their schools, those schools are thriving right now. And that's because what you learn at Builders Lab isn't a trick or a gimmick. It's something that if you practice it, it will help you deal with whatever gets thrown your way, and it'll help you thrive in that environment. And I want to help you do that. So if you want tickets to Builders Lab, go to mindstepsinc.com/builders-lab. And if for some reason, your school district is closed right now, you're not even sure you're going to be able to travel, just give us a call and tell us what's going on, or send us an email, tell us what's going on, and have us hold a space for you. Let us know that you're coming, and we'll do our best to work with you to make it work. We are being super flexible at MindSteps right now. The second thing I want to tell you, speaking of flexibility, is that in order to help, I have started a free private group. This is not a Facebook group or a LinkedIn group. I find that a lot of those groups, people jump in, and those groups can get a little bit busy and crowded. So we've created a space off of social media. For those of you who don't have Facebook accounts or LinkedIn accounts, that's great. You can still join our group. We're calling it a pop-up group. It's a free group. We're going to keep it open for as long as we can to be able to support you throughout the crisis. And we're doing 3 things in that group. One, I am sharing resources as I come across them. I've been reaching out to some of my friends on the business side of things, and they have been super generous. They've offered to donate subscriptions to Zoom to certain people. They've offered to come inside the group and walk people through how to use some of these resources to kind of how to move your school quickly from being, a face-to-face kind of interaction to more of an online interaction. So we're going to be having those resources and sharing those, and other people are sharing those resources. The second thing that we're doing inside of the group is that I'm jumping in a couple of times a week and providing free training. So I've already provided training around a framework that you can use to help you kind of think through all of this and start to get yourself together and get your head wrapped around the crisis and what should you be thinking about right now so that you can get ahead of things. But I'm also going to be doing trainings on how to develop a recovery plan, how to keep your teachers motivated, and how to actually use this as a time to improve your teachers' will and skill, even though they're all home. I'm going to be doing trainings around other challenges that you're facing right now, but the focus of the trainings is this. It's not just about surviving right now. The trainings are going to help you actually thrive in this moment and set your school up to be successful when things go to the new normal. How do you get ahead of that? So I'll be doing those trainings a couple of times a week inside the group. And then the third thing that we're doing is we are doing office hours. So at least 2 to 3 times a week, I will be jumping into the group and I will be conducting office hours. During office hours, you can jump in and out, so you don't have to sit there for the whole hour that I'll be in there, but you can just jump in and out anytime during those office hours. You can ask me a question. You can have me look at something that you're considering. You can ask me to help you think through something that you're trying to do with your staff. Already, we've covered topics like, how do we handle special education concerns when everybody's home and we're doing this distance learning? How do we deal with parents and help turn our parents into our biggest advocates? What are some things that we should already be putting in place with teachers so that they are ready when we return back to school? We've been talking about real issues here. So again, I want to invite you, if you are really serious about setting your school up to be successful now and in the future, in spite of what's going on with this crisis, then I want to invite you to join the group. Again, this is not on social media, so the best way to join the group is to go to mindstepsinc.com, and then on the homepage will be a pop-up box. That pop-up box will give you information on how you can sign up for the group. Once you've joined the group, we have a platform that we're on, and you can also download that application to your cell phone so that you can just, if you're in the middle of something, you need to ask a question really quickly, you can just pull out your cell phone and send the question to me, and then it'll pop up on my cell phone and I can answer it. You can also access all of the trainings and all of the trainings that we've done prior to your joining. We don't record the office hours because I feel like during that time, people should feel free to be transparent and know that they're not going to be put on blast and that's going to be recorded for all of eternity. So we don't record the office hours, but we have several a week and we move them around to kind of make sure we can accommodate everybody's schedule. So if you've ever wanted to get direct access to me, to ask me a question, to get me to be a thought partner with you as you try to think about how are you going to build in the midst of crisis, then I invite you to join this group. It's the best way to do that. And the group is absolutely free. I'm doing that because I want to do my part. I am seeing so many schools who were just completely caught off guard by this crisis, and they are realizing now just how unprepared they are. And so they're scrambling. And what happens when you scramble to try to recover, you don't recover. You just survive. And then when things get to that new normal, whatever the new normal is going to be, you've been in survival mode for so long that you've actually lost ground because the time that you should have been spending building, you've been spending surviving. So I want to make sure that you are ready for when kids come back. And I don't know when they're coming back. Nobody knows at this point. But whenever they come back, are you ready? I want to make sure that you don't lose ground, not just with your students, but with your staff while people are home and while we're trying to figure things out. How do you make sure that you are maintaining momentum, not just surviving, but everybody is thriving during this time? So I'm going to share with you some of my best resources around that to make sure that you have what you need and that you can continue to grow your people and your staff and your school like a builder. All right. Now let's jump into our mind stepsism for today, which is anchor in the outcome. This is something I find myself saying all the time. People will ask me things like, my staff and I disagree on the best reading curriculum for our students. And my answer is always this: anchor in the outcome. If people will say to me, I have a teacher who's really resisting some of the feedback that I'm giving the teacher, and they're not doing what I'm asking them to do. Anchor in the outcome. Our district is making us move from a 7-period day to a block schedule, and everybody's freaking out because we don't know how to do it. Anchor in the outcome. And here's what I mean by that. We get so caught up on the technique, the strategy, and we argue about that, or we disagree about that, or we worry about that. And that's not important. Your strategy, your technique is not important. People ask me all the time, what's the best schedule we should have? And I say, I don't know. I need to hear what your vision, mission, and core values are. And then we can figure out what the best schedule is based on which schedule will best help you reach the vision and mission and core values of your school. People are asking me right now, what's the best technology for hosting a virtual staff meeting? And my answer is, I don't know. It depends on what your vision, mission, and core values are for your school. Instead of just grabbing at a tool or grabbing at a technique or grabbing at a strategy, first take time to anchor in the outcome. And what I'm seeing a lot of people doing right now is I see people digging themselves into a hole because they are grabbing a strategy because we need something now. We have 24 hours to figure out how to make learning virtual for our kids. So we have 3 days left before spring break is over, and we have to make some decisions. And so they're grabbing at these strategies because of the urgency around this crisis, and they're forgetting their vision, mission, and core values, or they're learning that their vision, mission, and core values are garbage. They don't mean anything. There's nothing to anchor in. And unfortunately, I think a lot of schools right now are learning that their vision, mission, and core values are garbage. You have them, but they are not serving you the way that they should be serving you right now. Because if you have a strong vision, mission, and core values, then when you're trying to make any kind of decision about your school, you anchor in the outcome. People are asking me things like, what should I do with the aides? Should we continue to pay them if we aren't going to have students come back for another month? And if you don't have a vision, mission, and core values, how do you make that decision? You look at your budget, or you look at what other people are doing, and you make a rash decision that means you may lose good people who could be serving students. Or you keep them on the payroll, but then you don't use them to actually serve your students. And so you've helped those people not have to be unemployed, but you haven't moved your school forward. And the answer is anchor in the outcome. What are your core values? What do your core values say you should be doing about your aides? What does your vision say with regard to what master schedule you use? Or what does your mission say with regard to what technology you use for your staff meeting? I can't answer that question unless I know what outcome you are looking to achieve. And so I just want to say to people, and I've been finding myself saying this over and over and over again this last week, people are just going nuts because everything is just kind of exploding at one time. And people feel adrift. People are not sleeping. People are stressed out. People are changing every 2 days. As a new mandate comes down, people are reacting to that new mandate. And what I want everybody to do is just stop. Anchor in the outcome. I understand the sense of urgency. I understand the need to feel like we have to have an answer for people right away. But if you make up an answer that isn't tethered to your outcome, then your answer is going to turn out to be wrong. If you take a step back before you answer any question and you anchor in the outcome, your answer will always be right, even if you have to adjust it later on, because your answer will always go back to your outcome. Now, here's what I see builders doing. People are asking things like, how much work should we send to students? Is it right to require work of students when all of our students don't have access to technology? What are we going to do about feeding our kids every single day? And they're taking those questions and they're sifting those questions through their vision, mission, and core values. And they're coming up with unique responses based on that. So one school, their mission is to be a safe place in the community. So yes, they are closed, but they're still providing a safe place. So they're doing things like allowing kids to walk up to, they have a door with a window, like a glass in between, and they are allowing kids to walk up and be able to access a counselor or talk to somebody if they're very stressed out, but they're doing it through that window. And then after each kid leaves, they're going in and cleaning out that area and making it safe for the next kid. They are providing families with food. They've partnered with community food banks, and they are providing families with food in their time of need because their mission is about keeping kids safe, being a safe place in the community. Their response has really been around how do we make sure that kids are physically and socially and psychologically safe. They have a hotline that kids can call when they're stressed out to talk to a caring adult. They have kids who are in abusive home situations right now, and they're working with child protective services agencies because those kids are now home all day, and they're providing alternatives for those kids to help provide a safe place. So their response is being applauded by their community because everything they're doing is consistent with their mission. I'll give you another example. One of our other builders, their vision is strong. Their vision is every kid will be reading at or above grade level by second grade. So when the crisis hit, they went and looked at where every kid was in their school. Every teacher looked at where their kids were to figure out, are the kids on track to be reading on grade level by second grade? And for kids at above second grade, who's still not reading on grade level and who's in danger of slipping if we don't spend the time with them. So what they're doing is they want to get every kid, their vision is every kid will be reading at grade level by second grade and will maintain or increase their reading level every grade after that. So when it came to work being sent home, their primary focus was on what can we do to help students either achieve proficiency or maintain and grow proficiency in reading. So they're not sending home random packets. They're having real conversations about what's important. One of the things they realized was that time spent reading is one of the huge factors that's going to affect whether or not their students are doing that. But many students don't have books. So now they are doing book distributions. They are giving kids online resources for books. They are checking in with kids. The principal is reading to the kids every single night, but they're also having analog and digital means for kids to sit down and get reading support. So if there's not a caring adult at home who can read with those kids, the kids can read together with a caring adult. They've gotten the community involved. So they've gotten, grandmas involved. So grandmas are reading stories. Kids can download YouTube videos that are attached to books where there's somebody that they recognize reading that book to them. They're doing live videos where the kids are reading. They're doing everything they can to make sure that they support their kids' progress. And what's going to happen is that if kids return to school this year or if they return to school next year, they have not only infrastructure in place to keep kids reading all throughout the summer, but their kids are going to be at or above grade level and they will have made progress. They're not just sitting home playing educational games, and there's nothing wrong with educational games, but they're not enough. Kids still need instruction, and this school is thinking about how can we make sure that our kids are reading and growing as readers. It doesn't mean that they're neglecting math and science and social studies either, but because their vision is focused on that reading, because reading opens up all kinds of other doors for their kids, they are really focusing on the work that they send home. And it's a higher quality work. These are not worksheets. They are providing other things. And every single day when they meet as a staff, they're talking about, okay, how else can we make sure that kids are maintaining their reading proficiency or growing their reading proficiency? When you anchor in the outcome, you're not just grabbing a whole bunch of stuff to react to the crisis. You stop, you're reflective first, and then you respond. And you respond in a way that doesn't just put out the fire, but you prevent future fires. You see, a lot of people are starting to see the holes in their process. As long as things were going fine, it was easy to maintain the status quo. But a lot of people are starting to see that the systems that they've set up in their school, they're not working or they're missing. And so now they're having to create the systems in the midst of crisis. All of us are dealing with that. I'm dealing with that with my own business. It's a sobering time because you start to see where the cracks really are. But if you stop and you don't just start plugging leaks, and instead you take a step back and you anchor in the outcome. What is my vision? What is my mission? What are my core values? Who are we here to serve? If you stop and do that first, then you can be proactive instead of reactive. Then you can make good decisions even though you don't have all the information, because you have a solid purpose. You have a solid vision, mission, and core values, which means that even if you make a decision that has to be altered later on because it's been anchored in the outcome, it's not going to be a huge alteration. It's going to be a small tweak in the details, but you won't have gone in the wrong direction. That's why it's so important. And I say this all the time. I talk about vision, mission, and core values. And a lot of people think that those are luxuries, that those are nice to haves, or they think, oh, I wrote something and I'm going to slap it on the wall and I can check that off my list of things to do. And now we are realizing that is not true. The schools that have that solid vision, mission, and core values in place, the schools that have been practicing that, the schools that have already gotten into the habit of sifting their decisions through those vision, mission, and core values, those are the schools that are thriving right now because they have an anchor. Everybody else is adrift. But the schools that have that vision, mission, and core values in place, the schools that are using that and anchoring in that, those schools are actually going to not only be thriving right now, but when things go back to the new normal, whatever that's going to be, those schools are going to be so far ahead. And I really believe there's going to be a huge gap in schools in the next couple of months. The schools that have that outcome and they've anchored in the outcome, and the schools that have just been reacting. Because when things get back to the new normal, and they will at some point, and I don't know what that new normal is going to look like, and you don't know either, but when things get back to that new normal, if you have been anchoring in the outcome, you will not have missed a beat. Your school will be moving forward. Everybody else is going to be sitting around saying, what do we do now? Okay, now how do we handle the new normal? When you anchor in the outcome, you know how to handle the new normal and the new normal after that and the new normal after that, because you are always anchored in your vision, mission, and core values. This is the outcome we want to provide for our kids. Every decision we make has to move us closer to that outcome. And when you think that way, that's how you gain momentum. So those are the cold, hard facts about where we are right now. And I know that somebody's going to ask this question, so I'm going to answer it here and now. What do you do if you don't have a vision or mission and core values? Well, what do you do now? Well, I've got some tough news for you. If you don't have a vision, mission, or core values now, you need to take some time and establish them. And people are saying, wait, we can't do that right now. We've got too much other stuff going on. Yeah, that stuff is going on, but you can't deal with that stuff until you have a solid vision, mission, and core values in place. And it means that you're going to have to take some time away from kind of, putting out fires to start thinking about, all right, how do we do this? I know that's not what you wanted to hear. I know you wanted to hear a Band-Aid solution. I just don't have one. I don't traffic in Band-Aid solutions. They don't work. They give you a false sense of security and they make you think you've solved something, but you've never solved the problem. The only solution is you need a vision, mission, and core values now. So how do you get it fast? What's the emergency fast track for getting vision, mission, and core values? Well, your vision belongs to the builder. So you can create a vision right now. What is the promise that you want to make to 100% of your students in your school? You can decide that right now. You can think about that right now. And if you want my support with that, I'm happy to help you with that. You can just come inside of the pop-up group, the Mindsets pop-up group, and, say, hey, I need help with my vision. And we may even do an office hours around that, just focused on vision to help people who are really kind of thinking through that. So if you need help with that, I'm here to help you, and I'm happy to do it free of charge. Just join that pop-up group. But you need to decide on your vision right now. If you don't have a vision, you need one now. And you especially need one now because everybody is looking to you with what are we going to do? And if your only answer is, that hasn't been decided yet, I'm waiting on the district. If you don't have a vision for your school, then people are not going to see you as the builder of that school. They are going to start looking for somebody else. You are going to erode or destroy whatever quote unquote leadership you have if you don't step up now with a clear vision. So you need a vision, and that can happen right now, immediately. The next thing is you need a mission. And normally I teach you should be getting your staff involved in those conversations. I still think you can do that. I still think that when you are meeting with your staff, you need to go back and say, here's where we are, here's what our mission is. And the mission is simply, why is this vision important? And you can have the staff members talk about that. I think it would be very calming for people to be talking about, okay, let's not forget why we're doing this work. Even if your staff members are sharing their own individual missions, it's still important to have that conversation so that everybody can anchor in that in the weeks ahead. Right now, the success or failure of our school is wholly dependent upon the goodwill of our hardworking teachers. We are expecting teachers to revise an entire curriculum and turn it into an online curriculum, and we are hoping that they're doing a good job, but we really have no way of knowing. So we are entirely dependent upon the decisions that our teachers make without the ability to really influence those decisions outside of a shared vision, mission, and core values. So spending time with teachers talking about, okay, what is our mission as a school? Why are we here? Why are we working so hard on behalf of kids? What is it that we're hoping that we can accomplish even in this time? Engaging your teachers in that conversation right now is really important. And then lastly, you're going to have to fast track the core values conversation. So normally I teach you how to do core values, and it's kind of a more drawn out process where, you work with groups of teachers and then you bring everything back. You're going to have to fast track that. Now, if you want the entire process, you can go to mindsetsinc.com, and then on that homepage, there is a link to an ebook I wrote called How to Overcome a Toxic School Culture, and it lays out the core values process there. If you want the fast track version of that process, then join me in the Mindsets pop-up group. I don't have time to go through it on this podcast here, but in the pop-up group, I'm going to be doing a training on how you can fast track the core values process so that you can get everybody on the same page and you can everybody doing the right work the right way so that you can actually move your school forward. But you're going to have to do that. There's no way around this. You can't just say, oh, well, I don't have a vision, mission, and core values, and maybe after the crisis is over. That will be too late. As we're already seeing, if you didn't put the core values, vision, and mission in place by now, you're scrambling. You're working harder than people who did. You are making poorer decisions than people who did. Can you really afford to do that for the next 3 to 6 months? Take the time now. Establish that with your staff. Pull everybody back. Everybody's in crisis mode. Pull everybody back and say, listen, we need to get out of crisis mode and we need to be thinking proactively. Let's start by understanding what our core values are, what our mission is, what our vision is. And then we can use that to guide us forward. We can use that to help us weather any storm that we may be facing. People may say, this is a waste of time. I don't want to have this meeting. I'm home. Whatever. I don't care. If you don't do this, not only will you flounder your way through this crisis, but you will be totally unprepared for the crises to come. I hate to be that blunt, but I don't know another way to say it. You must anchor in the outcome. That's the only anchor available to you right now. So listen, I know everybody's stressed out, and I don't want to add to your stress. So I'm not trying to tell you this to stress you out, but I am telling you, if you want to get rid of some of your stress, this is the work you need to be doing right now. This is how you actually move your school forward. This is how you actually keep everybody together and focus on the right thing. This is how you actually make tough decisions, because you're going to have to make some tough decisions in the next few weeks. You are going to have to deal with some rapidly changing circumstances. And if you do not have something that you can anchor in, it's going to take its toll on you and it's going to take its toll on your school. If you don't want that to happen, if you really want to be able to handle this, then you need to spend your time on the core values, vision, and mission, and then you need to anchor in your outcome. When you do that, you can weather any storm like a builder. That's going to do it for today's episode. And let me tell you this. I am so very proud of those of you who are builders out there. You had 24 to 48 hours to figure out how to completely redesign your schools, and you did it. I am seeing all kinds of posts on social media and getting emails and notes from people about some of the amazing, courageous, innovative things that you are doing in your school. I'm so proud to be a part of this group of builders. And I'm so grateful for all of the work that you do. This is unprecedented. And you all are rising to the occasion. And I just want you to know how proud I am of you. And if there's anything that I can do to support you, I'm here. I had already planned on being here in the office for the next 2 months. So I had canceled all of my travel or didn't schedule travel for the next 2 months because we're working on a really big project here that I want to tell you about, but I can't tell you about right now, but just know we have a project going on. So I was already scheduled to be here in the office for the next 2 months. And now I am so grateful that I'm able to do that because I am spending a large portion of my day just supporting other builders. And so if you need help, I'm here for you. I am happy to serve. We all are in this together. And I want to do whatever I can to not only help you survive this crisis, but to thrive in the midst of this crisis. And I'm really worried because a lot of schools are not thinking ahead now. So I really want to do what I can to help you think ahead to what is this going to mean for your school going forward? How do you build in the midst of crisis so that you are setting yourself up to be successful down the road? These are crazy times, folks. And so just know this. If you need me, I'm here for you. And I mean that. Somebody got on the office hours the other day and said, I cannot believe that you're actually taking this time to talk to us. Well, first of all, I have it. I'm not traveling around, so I have it on the schedule. We're working on this other project, but it's not taking my entire day. But second of all, I believe in you. I believe in the work you're doing. And so if I can be of help to you, the best way to get my help and to get it for completely free. We're not charging for this group. There are no pitches in this group. It's just the only thing I ask is that if you learn something in this group, you actually put it into action, because I am worried that our schools we're just not going to be able to respond if we don't do some things differently. So if you want to join the group, go to mindstepsinc.com. And on the main page will be a pop-up with a link to the MindSteps pop-up group. And all you need to do is click that link and you can jump in and start accessing resources. And we're adding more all the time. And if you don't see something that you need, go ahead and put in the comments, send us a note or send us I don't know what it's called inside the group, whatever it is. There's a message there's a way to be able to kind of reach me directly and just tell me what you need. Now, I need to be clear. This is not a group, with give me 400 websites for reading activities for kids. There are other better groups out there for that. This is a group that's really about how can I think strategically about this? This is a challenge that I'm facing right now, and I'm worried about how to respond to it now, but I'm also worried about what it's going to mean down the line. And that's where I can best serve you. So again, go to mindstepsinc.com to be able to sign up for that group. It's totally free, and I'm happy to help you there. In the meantime, if you have anything else that you need from me and you don't want to join the group, you can always reach out to me on LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm getting messages there. I'm responding as quickly as I can. And just know that my heart is with you. I'm so proud of you. And we're all going to get through this like builders.
Thank you for listening to the School Leadership Reimagined podcast. For show notes and free downloads, visit schoolleadershipreimagined.com. School Leadership Reimagined is brought to you by MindSteps, Inc., where we build master teachers.